Hey, Gospel Community Leaders, you are getting this study guide very early. In fact, you're getting it before the sermon has even been preached in the corporate gathering this Sunday, coming Sunday. The reason for that is that my wife and I are getting ready to take a vacation that begins tomorrow after I get off work. And so I'm trying to get this, or by the time you see this, it'll be today, Friday. By the time I get off work, we're going to start that vacation. And so I wanted to get this out to you early. So Josh and I talked about the sermon content. I have read his manuscript several times, and I think I've done my best by God's grace and through prayer to come up with a study guide before actually hearing the sermon live, which is what I normally like to do before I write the questions. But I'm going to trust God to, and I've been very prayerful about this, to still have us give us a study guide that will be impacting and that will lead to good conversation that will bring us to the foot of the cross, as is my prayer every week, to see what Jesus did for us there, that we will have the character of God revealed to us and the accomplishments of Jesus revealed to us through these discussion questions around a very, very difficult topic. And so, first of all, there is an announcement, an important one, June the 22nd at 1 p.m. That is a Sunday. June the 22nd at 1 p.m. will be our members meeting. So this is for members only, but our members meeting, it will include food as well, and so our lunch as well. So there will be more details about this to come, but have announce this to your group if they need to save that date, get that locked in on their calendars to be there. We'll reveal the budget and some other things at this meeting, and so they need to lock that date in, June the 22nd at 1 p.m. Okay, this week is about divorce. The topic is divorce. The next week's topic will be remarriage. So we're going into the hornet's nest, baby. I mean, here it comes. For some of you, this is cut very deeply into your own lives, whether it be directly or indirectly, with your immediate family or those who are close to you. None of us, I cannot imagine, have been unscathed by the topic of divorce, at least in some way. And so this is big, and everyone in your group is going to be somewhere on this. They've been impacted by it directly, sometimes very painfully, or they've experienced it alongside other people, or maybe they were a child that was brought up in a situation that included divorce. And so the main takeaway, though, this week is about Jesus, okay, because that's what this is all about ultimately. And so the topic is divorce, and there's some very specific, the sermon is going to be kind of very, not a lecture, but it's going to be teaching and explaining about what does God say about divorce, but ultimately it's all about Jesus. And so the main takeaway this week is the ability to keep promises and to forgive people who break promises is found in Jesus Christ alone. That's the only place we find the ability to keep promises, and that's the only place we find the ability to forgive those who have broken promises to us. And so Jesus, through his death on the cross, reconciles us to God. Cheaters, adulterers, basically against God, sinful against God, and he reconciles us to himself. A beautiful picture of God, the bridegroom, and us, his bride, the church. So it's ultimately about Jesus. Marriage is about Jesus, and so this topic is that. But it's going to get practical too, and so you're going to step through these questions. Now, I would suggest on a week like this, doing the first things first question, if you have time for that. It's just going to give a general, how was this sermon impacting to you, opportunity for your people. And there might be stuff bubbling under the surface there that these following questions might not get at, and that will allow that stuff to kind of surface and be talked through within community from a gospel perspective, and so that could be very, very helpful. There's an appendix attached for questions, the personal question and the community question. Also for the first things first question, it's just a general cluster of resources that are going to help equip you to talk through this topic of divorce, and these are going to also speak into remarriage a little bit too, which will be next week's topic. But please, get into these resources. That's one benefit, and God in His sovereignty, I think that's one reason why this fell where it did, so that here now on Friday, you're at the least 3 days out from your meeting. You have the weekend to dig into some of these resources and to get equipped a little bit better and informed a little bit better in this discussion about divorce and remarriage. So please take advantage of those. I know week to week sometimes you are busy and you don't have probably time to address all those resources. Please don't, if at all possible, and I know there's always exceptions, but please try to make time to see these resources that are attached in Appendix A, so that you can shepherd and lead this discussion, facilitate this discussion in a very from a place of understanding and knowledge and a robust kind of understanding of this issue. So the personal and the community questions both are going to touch on that issue of divorce, so please be ready for that. What's great is that the missional question is going to kind of bring this back around to Jesus and who He is and our relationship with Him. We are His bride. We betray Him. We are adulterous and our breaking of covenant. We are immoral, not just sexually, but we are offensive to Him over and over and over again, even as His children. He reconciles us to Him, and we are now messengers of reconciliation to the world around us. So we're going to come back and we're going to talk about evangelism and the missional question. It's going to tie into marriage. It's going to tie into reconciliation. It's going to tie into all those things, and we're going to ask the pointed question: who are you sharing the gospel with? You're just going to hear crickets in your room possibly, and then you're going to say, well, who should you be sharing the gospel with? And then we're going to go one step further, and we're going to say, do you have any idea how to go about sharing the gospel with so-and-so, or with this specific person, or these specific people? So be ready to talk through that as well too, because there may be people in your group who are not sharing the gospel because they really just don't have a clue where to start. So be ready to talk through that, and that should be great. Again, I cannot reiterate, please look at the resources in Appendix A. Please study up on this and be ready to discuss this in your groups. I love you guys so much. This is a week that could possibly be deeply impacting, but it could also be very, very awkward. And you as gospel community leaders, it's all guts and no glory for you guys this week. You just got to kind of walk in there and you got to do this. And so that's exciting. And if you know your group well enough, some of you know you're walking into potentially a hornet's nest, not of like defiance, but a hornet's nest of awkward conversation. And that's a beautiful thing, because God is going to be faithful in the midst of that. That is His promise. When we gather together as His people and we proclaim the excellencies of Christ and the truth of God's Word together, He is going to impact our lives and change us, because that is His promise to His children. So go forth into the awkwardness of this discussion in full and complete confidence that God is going to use this in the lives of people who have been wounded by this to bring healing, people who are in the midst of maybe considering divorce to bring reconciliation and restoration perhaps, or freedom from guilt, and people who have never really been directly, deeply impacted by this. He's going to use this topic all the same to make us more and more like Christ. Love you guys. Praying for each of you this week. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks so much.